Welcome to the live broadcast of the Detroit Metro podcast. Just want to welcome everyone who is viewing this on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. So, welcome to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. So, if you are viewing this live, I definitely want to encourage you to uh, like and share with your friends and family. We have a very special guest tonight on the live podcast. Again, please like and share with your friends and family. We have a very special guest. Tonight, we're going to talk about how to start a staffing agency. So, if you're interested in learning how to start a staffing agency, a company that services other companies by providing quality employees to help them fill their gaps in employment, we have a special lady who's going to share a little bit about that and her journey with starting her company. So, let me introduce our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is an expert in the realm of executive administration, support, and office protocol. She established a company called Heaven's Hired Hand Staffing Services, LLC, in 2004. She also, a part of that organization is called the RFC Group LLC, which is a subsidiary of Heaven's Hired Hand. The core focus of these entities is to supply administrative support needs to small, mid-sized companies in the Metro Detroit area and beyond. This company is certified by the National Minority Supplier Development Council, as well as the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. They provide professional services to job seekers and employers. With their longevity, they have learned that staffing is not a numbers game, it is a relationship building business. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our next guest, Miss Deondra Parks.
Hello, hello. I love that intro. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, so before we go into your journey with your company, can you tell us how did you get started?
Um, I got started. First of all, again, thank you for
Oh,
having
wait
me
a minute.
here.
Before you go into how you get started,
Yes,
tell us a little
sir.
bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
A little bit about myself. I am a proud mother of three, well, of four. I say four. I have three by birth, and I have one that I've claimed, and she's not going anywhere. They're all adults. A couple of them are finishing up their college journey. One is going into her second year. Born and raised in Detroit. Graduated from Henry Ford High School as well as Randolph Vocational Technical Center. So proud Detroiter. Always happy about that. And that is the facets of me. I definitely take pride in being a mom. That first and foremost is everything to me. I that's one of my biggest joys and accomplishments, of course.
Okay, so you said that you're a proud Detroiter, so shout out for being
Absolutely.
born and raised. And you shared you went to Henry Ford High School, so shout out to the Trojans. I went to
Trojans.
Henry Ford High School. I think we've crossed paths there, maybe.
Mm.
Maybe I'm probably a little bit older than you. So shout out to the Henry Ford Trojans, and you shared about your family. So
Yes.
now let's go into so, how did you get started with your company? And share us a little bit about Heaven's Hand Staffing and the RFC Group.
Well, Heaven's Higher Hair Staffing, first of all, my journey through that, a lot of my work has always been through contract houses, staffing agencies, during my tenure, what have you. And during that time that I was as a contractor, I always wanted to be included into the companies that I was, staffed at. Even though it was a great opportunity to be a part of, the company, I wanted to be ingrained completely. I wanted to be part of the team. And I think that's what a lot of us as humans are. We want to be a part of the team. And with that climb, I decided that, I wanted to actually kind of step out and do my own staffing, looking to hire people, not just hire them, but position them directly into different roles. And some of those roles are, of course, being administrative support, because I've always done administrative support work. Even in some of my previous roles, not only did I do that, I trained admins on different levels or what have you. So I enjoyed that. And when I decided to finally branch out, I took some entrepreneur classes and I decided, yeah, definitely staffing was the way that I wanted to go. And not only did I want to do staffing, I kind of started studying the background of the staffing industry. And one of the individuals that I studied back then, of course, was John Barfield. If you're familiar with his climb, he is actually over Bartech Services. He started off as a janitor and he reached, went on to open Bartech. And not just that, he did Barton Cable. So his success started, pretty mediocre, and his climb has been successful and is still very successful. So I began to model that once I decided, hey, definitely I wanted to open up an agency. So he was actually one of the models that I wanted to look and that I aspired to be like.
Now you mentioned John, is it John Barfield, right? Of
Hmm.
the Barfield
Bartech.
Group or Bartech,
Bartech,
the Bartech
yes.
Group. Okay. Did you get a chance to meet him? You read his books. How did he have his impact on you?
I did not meet him. I researched. Of course, as African Americans, we're always kind of wanting to look and see who our successors are and what they do. So I just kind of began to study individuals. And then at the time, as I was studying him, a couple of the staffing opportunities that I had in past was actually through Bartech, never knowing where how it came about. And it wasn't until I became more intentional and researched it that I found out, hey, not only was I working at that at that moment up under that, but now this is someone that I was aspiring to, get into the same group and organization and to move forward in that manner. So I
Okay.
haven't met him, but there is someone that I know right now. I believe that's working with a relative of his, a
Okay.
nephew or what have you, up in janitorial.
Now let's step a few take a few steps back
Hmm.
before you got into this business. Uh, did your educational background kind of help you prepare? I know in the intro I talked about you provide staffing for administrative support. Is that something that you worked in prior,
I
or
did.
okay? And then what is your educational training that you would say helped you in this business?
A lot of my education and training, and it's kind of funny you said that. I did go through Randolph years ago. I took up like their business service and technology, which is like a combination of like typing, computer, interviewing skills, things of that sort. But growing up, I always like to dress up, put on, the glasses and the blazers, and I always envisioned myself kind of in that scope of, doing secretarial clerical work. I always loved problem solving and assisting in that magnitude. So when I began to work, that was something, or even before going to work, when I was in school, that was something that I always took on. And definitely don't want to tell my age, from middle school they offer like typing classes. High school, they offered vocational classes. College, I did some of the same thing. And then when I began to work, um, actually, true story, right out of high school, I was afforded an opportunity. I was working at a hospital. It was nice. But it wasn't until I transitioned over to a utilities company where I really knew that, yeah, definitely administrative support and executive admin, that type of work was definitely the go-to for me. It's just something about serving, problem solving, making things run effectively and efficiently, being the go between, trying to minimize any type of stresses off your superior. It's We're integral in any office, and I really love that. And I aspire to continue to bring individuals into different roles in that administrative aspect and beyond.
Okay, okay. So definitely your educational background. You said you took the typing classes. I remember at Henry Ford High School back in the day, in the late '80s and early '90s.
I
They
won't say all
actually had they
that.
actually had typing classes with the typewriters. And
IBM Real Writer number 5.
yep. And so yep, I remember taking typing classes. You had to put your fingers on the home keys. I'm pretty sure a lot of young people don't know what home keys are. They type with
Absolutely.
kids be typing with two
that
fingers.
that thumb, yeah.
So that's great. That's awesome. And then you went to school and you had your work experience. So
Yes.
and then you said you followed the model of the John Bartell.
Yeah.
So what was the thing that led you to say, "Hey, this is something I can do and be good at"?
First and foremost, knowing my capability. I'm just one of those, whatever I set my mind to, it's going to get done, of course, through the grace of God, never taking on all the credit. But it was just something that I wanted to do to kind of get away from just staffing, but direct placement. As I shared, a lot of my jobs were through contract houses, which is fine because, of course, that's how I was able to provide for my children. But I never actually got the opportunity on some instances to actually get involved in the company as a full timer, so to speak. Through contract houses, they have contracts where you might be on an assignment 18 months and then the opportunity to transition over into full time. That might have been a couple of times, or that may have been my story, but then it came also that I had some barriers to where I couldn't actually shift into full time. So I just decided when I did open up my own agency that I was going to look to do more direct placement so that we can all become part of the said team. There's nothing wrong with working for staffing agencies because anyone who works for me is my company is great. It's just also about marrying individuals in, all wanting to be a collective and not being the outsider, so to speak. You know, we as humans, we want to feel that we are needed. We want to feel like we are a part. And that's something that I try to model in my day to day walk in terms of staffing.
Now, did you have a mentor that kind of showed you the ropes to get started, how to get started?
I have a mentor now that started once I came on board. But to be very honest, again, I don't know. You know, when they say you're destined, your destiny is tied into your love. So with me, I just move forward and kind of like different roles that I've already had, piece things together. I did take some like classes, but it was just a matter of this is what I know to do. So literally, as I started my company, and I have to kind of peg this from someone I heard say years ago. I was flying the airplane while building it, but it was exceptional being my own right brother, or actually right sister. And that's just how I move forward. But I currently now do have a mentor. She's exceptional. Hello, Denise. She might not have wanted me to
Okay.
say that, but hello. And we check in every week. Actually, we did one today. It's called a temperature check. She comes in, she holds me accountable, making sure that I'm meeting my goals, see what
Okay.
my goals are. If there's anything that I have left open, why is it still open? What do I need to do to be successful in closing that out? What does my leadership skills look like? Of course, we as leaders, we always have to refine and move forward and always learning additional dynamics. So she's very intentional about making sure that she's meeting with me, speaking, making sure that I'm hitting the marks. And then I have a team of other individuals as well. I definitely don't want to leave them out. T. Renee, hello. She again is wonderful in terms of helping me model the CEO life. So I definitely have a team of supporters that help streamline some of my processes and that help getting me, more acclimated as I continue this walk. Because every day is a new day and you're learning something. We all learn something new every day.
Okay. Awesome. So that's great. You didn't have mentors there. You were kind of building the plane as you were flying in your business. But so I mean, but there had to be some type of desire or example to be an entrepreneur.
I guess that would have to be just something that was on the inside of me. You know how you never understand exactly what's going on. A friend of mine's dad used to always fuss at me, and he would tell me when I go to work, just do the work that they told me to do. Stop trying to figure things out. Stop trying to make that company mine. I was there to get my check and to move forward. But always in my thinking, I was always looking at how to make things better, how to advance, how to minimize things, not knowing that that was that creative part inside of me that that I literally was I was not meant to work for someone, if that makes sense. I was, kind of meant to have my own. And it was destiny. It was destiny at an early age, but I didn't know it in that moment. So that's kind of how things worked for me. But yeah, it was more or less I enjoyed the work that I was doing, but I was always trying to find something to make it better.
Okay.
Not saying that it wasn't good, but
Right,
I
right.
always thought that I could find something that would make it just a little bit better. And yeah, my friend's dad would always, that was one of his things constantly and ongoing, like, look, just go to work.
Your
I'm so
granddad was
serious.
like, just go to work and quit bothering the managers and the
Yes.
owners. And
you know,
that's amazing that you realized at a young age that you were inquisitive. You wanted to know how things were working and
Mm,
how to make it better. So you were a self starter, and that was
absolutely.
the seed that was created in you to lead you to this place of entrepreneurship. Now, if you was telling someone who's interested in starting a business like yours,
Hmm.
what would be the first three steps you would tell them they should do before going into starting their own
Hmm.
agency?
That's a good question. Know why you're doing it, know who you're going to target, and know what you expect to receive out of it. So that would be the three things I would tell them. So in that why, you want to kind of understand what's motivating you to do this. Why do you feel that this would be best? Then, in terms of knowing who that you're going to focus on, know your the area that you're going to your client base. Who are you going to focus in on, hone in on? You don't want to say, "Oh, I can service everybody." That's not the case. That really scares a lot of businesses. They want to know that you are intentional, that you are modeling that group of people. So definitely make sure you know exactly who your client base or who you're planning to touch. And then what is your expectation? Is it just to be a small firm and, help out I don't never want to generalize small business because everyone is small in their own right, but they're just as big as well. But are you looking to stay up under a certain level, or are you looking to grow and branch out? So just have a plan and know exactly what it is that you want to do before you actually execute it.
Okay, so have a plan before you know what you're actually going to do. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, 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 yes.
Absolutely.
That's great. So, um, was it a challenge filing your paperwork to get your company? Is there a special kind of paperwork you have to set up to have a staffing agency?
With staff and with business peers, of course, you want to decide if you're going to just be like a sole proprietor, if you're going to be a limited liability corporation, because there's so many different levels. So with that, of course, everything comes paperwork and certain monies and things of that sort, as well as training, if that is something that you will need as well. So again, it goes back to what it is or what area that you're going to study. With myself, I decided to start off LLC. Again, I did do some entrepreneurship classes years prior. So once you kind of learn something, it's just a matter of revisiting and revamping, which is what I did. What else can I say about that? It's just a matter of understanding like what you want in terms of structure. Now, the further you go off, I do admonish individuals to look into certification. It's great to have a company, but it's better to have organizations certifying you because that just takes you up to another trajectory and a level. Where I might have been in group A looking to do business with no certifications, me being in group B with the certifications and them saying, hey, she's taking all the steps. We've gone through, we've looked at her paperwork, we've looked at her documentation, we follow her profit and loss margins, and she's on a path to where we can put our stamp on her. And when people see that, they definitely see, okay, you've taken the time, you've done everything, you've done your processes, which means that you're going to be faithful and completing things. So they can kind of entrust you to move forward and doing and establishing relationships in terms of business.
Okay, that's awesome. So, I like what you shared, the importance of certifications, and I wanted to go into that if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Um, so, what kind of certifications do you recommend people to get if they want to have a staffing agencies, and what is that process?
Well, I have my certification through the National Minority Supplier Development Council, and they focus certifications on minority businesses. So that group also allows me to be able to go for certain contracts through governments because there's so much money that the government has to allocate to minorities and things of that sort. So that's an exceptional certification to have. Likewise, I'm certified with the Women's Business Entrepreneurship Council as well, and that puts me into a double minority because not only am I African American business, I'm also a woman-owned business. So that kind of strengthens me as well. I also have. I'm not certified, but I also sit with different groups for like administrative support professionals. Again, getting into groups of whatever your area of expertise is important because it's showing that you're learning that market, that you are intentional with doing work in that area, and that you're moving forward to be successful. There is also testing that you can do to get additional certifications. There is a test through the state of Michigan where you can get testing for a staffing agency depending on how deeper you want to go in. If it's for IT, if it's for medical things of that sort. So it's all in how far you aspire and where you see yourself growing.
All right, that's great. So you talked about several different certifications that's available, and those certifications means that you've been vetted, and companies are more willing to work with you, and then also you get a way to be introduced to other organizations and other companies. That's that fair to
Absolutely.
say? Okay,
That's
that's
fair to
great.
say. And then being a part of those certifications or those certifying companies,
Hmm.
they offer so much in terms of relationships within individuals or groups like yourself. So with the NMSEC, I'm partnered or I'm in other. I always do the acronyms, which is not fair, but they kind of put you in different groups, or they have different groups. So I sit with like a professional services group, and up under that is other companies that do staffing that might offer services or what have you. Then I sit with an automotive group. So it's also a matter again of establishing more relationships. And relationship is the key to being able to not just function, but for you to get before someone, establish that relationship, them to think about you, and then to use you as a source when that time comes up.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, being that you are a staffing business,
Hmm.
and I know that you've probably observed, and most people in this area have observed, even across the country, due to the pandemic and coming, well, we're still in the pandemic, but people are getting back to some form of normalcy. Um, but a lot of companies have now hiring. Some
Hmm.
companies have a challenge in finding people. How has your organization been able to fill that gap, or is that a challenge for your business as well?
There are challenges, and that's a great question. There's always going to be challenges, whether the pandemic has played a part, and it has to an extent, but you kind of just have to move forward when it comes to staffing. And now that we are definitely in a different era because of the pandemic, you have to learn how to shift accordingly. So things that may have been the norm in terms of jobs, the jobs are still there, but now is we've we went so long without working those regular 9 to 5s or what have you, that we've been able to pivot and shift. So now those that are coming back into the workforce and those and the companies that need jobs, we now have to figure out a great way to like bring individuals back in. And that goes back to relationship communicating and definitely making sure that we're giving prevailing wages, which is something that I am definitely intentional about with regards to staffing individuals. And that again was something that, I wanted to make sure that we have. So I try to make sure that the companies are, knowing that they have to, provide a prevailing wage so that they will be more entertaining. And not just that, what other incentives can we, give them as we bring them on board? With my company, not only do I try to help marry the right individual, but I also focus on barriers and blockades that may prevent individuals from being successful in their roles before they're actually placed. So, one of my vetting processes, I try to find out what it is that might be preventing them. So, if it's something with housing, because I'm a representation of having housing situations that were not always great. If it's a matter of transportation, I'm definitely partnered with different organizations that will kind of help begin to profile these barriers so that we can address them and come up with a plan as we put them into roles so that they will be successful as well as sustainable. And I think that's definitely key, and that's a great shift.
Okay. All right. All right. Um, that's awesome. That is awesome. Um, Now, is there certain companies or certain industries that you primarily focus on?
When I started, I actually focused on individual or companies that had not necessarily used staffing agencies. And as silly as it may sound, there actually is a percent of companies that have not used staffing agencies, recruiting agencies. One, maybe out of fear, not understanding to the whole dynamic of the vetting process or the headhunting or what have you. And so I made sure that I went after those individuals to kind of make them comfortable and let them know, hey, we're here, we see you, and we want to help bring in the right clientele for you by way of great talent. So again, when we look or we try to vet candidates for these clients that we service, we try to find out what their likes are, their dislikes, their deal breakers, the culture. And then what I do, of course, I do the same for the talent, and we try to marry them together. There's been times where a couple of companies that I staff for may not have been necessarily all the way on board, again, because this is something new to them. So then I offer like what I call a try before you buy. So I may bring someone in for a week at a 1099, let that person see whether or not they like this company, as well as let the client see if they can work harmonious with the talent that we're bringing in. If it's a marry, then great, we've done our part. If not, there's nothing that has been lost. You write that off and we move on to the next candidate. But definitely, we want to do whatever we can to make sure we're bringing the right individual to the roles, as well as we're making sure that the talent is comfortable with who we place. It's twofold. It's not one sided with us.
Okay. So you're like kind of a professional matchmaker for employees looking for work and for companies looking for employees.
I like the way you said that. I
Yeah.
am definitely a
Now,
matchmaker,
now,
and I
does that mean you spend a bulk of your time? Do you have to kind of weed out potential employees? Do you do a lot of interviewing? What is your recruiting process?
my recruiting process is very extensive. I definitely have a team, so I'm definitely happy about that. So once from kind of start to finish, once we get the job description and we kind of interview the client and understand what their direct needs are, then we begin to work with our talent, vetting them, reaching out to individuals, trying to make sure they match up with the same type of job description or job qualifications and skills or what have you. Then from that part, of course, doing like a preliminary interview process, then bringing them in face to face to interview again more thorough, going through, of course, the drug and background check, as well as finding out in that moment if there's going to be something that's going to prevent them from being successful. So at that point, if there's something that's going to be preventing them from being successful, that's when we come up with our plan of action. And that's when we may reach out to different nonprofit organizations that will help us with making them successful before we get them before the client. So even before we get the actual talent before the client as a perspective, we are already looking and already initiating things that will help them to be successful in the event that they get placed. And if that's not a great fit, then we will be putting them into another role. However, we've already started that dynamic of removing or trying to prevent and minimize the barriers that they're experiencing right now.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a team, you have an extensive program to get potential employees for companies, you have a vetting system, and then you work with other community organizations like nonprofits.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. Yes.
What would you say you enjoy the most about what you do?
I'm helping. That's
Okay.
the only thing that I can say. I enjoy. being a problem solver. I enjoy helping. I believe we are all put here on this earth for purpose, of course, and our purpose is to help each other, lift one another, and help guide someone. Because my downfall may be what will help someone else. So I'm all about servitude. I love that. It's second nature. And again, I didn't understand it in my earlier years. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm people pleasing. Oh, I'm always, but it was purpose. I was always doing because I enjoy assisting. I enjoy serving. I want to see that smile. I want to see you win. I want to, know that you're happy. It brings joy to me seeing someone else smile, even if things may not be going right for me. To see that I was impactful to someone else,
Yes.
that says a lot right there.
Okay. Awesome. So you have a servant heart. You enjoy helping others and making sure a job gets done, and both parties are satisfied, whether it's the business that you're supplying the employees to and the employees finding the right place for them. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
What would you say in one word or sentence that best describes your business and sets you apart from other staffing agencies?
EAP, I call ourselves a backdoor EAP. So a lot of companies have and again, the acronym EAP is Employee Assistance Program.
Right.
We're that in reverse. We do all the employee assistance prior to. So we're focusing on uh, mental health if there's something there. Um, COVID really has changed a lot. So if anyone says they have not been impacted mentally, I would have to try to look at them sideways because at some point we've all had some type of anxiety from isolation, some type of depression, what have you. So we definitely looked into resources so that the HR point of the company doesn't necessarily have to do as much work. Not saying that they won't, and not saying that the people that are being onboarded or never reach out to their EAP, but we're giving them that extra soft touch before actually going off into those companies.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So you shared a lot about your journey with your company of starting a staffing agency company. You shared a lot about what sets you apart. You have a heart of a servant. You want to serve employees and employers. You talked about your just that inner desire as a kid of wanting to make things better and seeing how
Yeah,
things work and your self start. That's awesome.
thank you.
That's great. And I really appreciate you sharing that. Hopefully, those who are listening or watching the replay or watching live can pick up some tips about having their own company or a staffing agency. We're going to get into, you also are an author. We're going to get into your book. So we're going to take a little quick break. We got a little announcement, and then we'll get into your book. How does that
Sounds
sound?
great.
Sounds
Sounds
great.
great to
All
me.
right.
Yes.
Just 1 second here.
Hey everyone, this is Charles with Detroit Metro Plug Podcast. If you are finding value in today's video, I invite you to subscribe, like, and comment. We would love to hear your feedback. And don't forget to click on that notification bell so you can be notified when we have upcoming episodes of difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. If you're interested in being a part of our Facebook networking community, I invite you to click on the link to be a part of that community. This is a place where you can network with like minded people and a chance to share about your product or service. If you're interested in working with me directly on how you can share your story with video or with podcasting, you can email me direct at DetroitMetroPlug313 at gmail.com. Thanks again, and let's get back to this interview.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. I'm Charles, your host, where I bring you interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. And we're excited. We've been talking with Deondra Parks about her staffing company and her journey to starting that. She's also an author of a book called uh, When the Lights Come On. When the Lights Come On. So we're going to get into talking about that book.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
so you're an author. When did you write this book, and what was the process of writing and putting this project together?
I wrote the book actually last year. To kind of go back, I've always liked writing. My mother is a published author and poet. Was recognized in Washington years ago by the National Poet Society, what have you. So writing was always something to kind of get me, and I would lose myself in. I've always loved poetry. I was one of those that would sit in the in the park reading books like Arnold Adolph, I Am the Darker Brother, uh, all of those. I enjoyed it. So I did that in my spare time in terms of reading and writing. That was my pastime and my calm. With the When the Lights Came On, I actually did that book last year, maybe in the beginning, as I always said I wanted to talk about my life, because I had a very it was a challenging journey to say the least. And some of the things that I went through, people literally, if I allowed them in to know just a little, they always thought, no, she's making this up because this truly cannot be true. But that was my truth. So I just decided I was going to G-rate it and put it into a book. And it helped me. I also did a co-authorship with a group of other women, and that helped me kind of get started on the journey of writing and actually getting things out because your story has to be told. I believe your story can help someone else and change somebody's life. So instead of looking or feeling embarrassed about some of the things that I went through, it was more or less like I got to share it so that I can encourage someone else and let them know, hey, you will get through it.
Okay, okay. So uh, what would you say is the theme of this book, When the Lights Come On?
The theme is being able to overcome. At every area of my life, there was always a light somewhere that was guiding me. And of course, we know God to be that light, to be that source. So I'm thankful that during that journey, even in the darkest, I had a light that was sourcing and resourcing me with whatever it was that I needed at the time, even though that journey it was hard.
Okay. So this is your life story, the journey. The theme of the book is that light was guiding you through the ups and downs and the challenges you faced as a young person and journeying through just life, having children and relationships and everything. Who would you say is the ideal person for this book? Who would be the ideal person for this
That's a great question. I think everyone can be impacted, but I definitely want to reach my sisters with low self-esteem.
book? Okay.
Those who feel that they have no value or that they have to please, or like I like to say, pick up your heart after it's been dropped and give it back to individuals who continuously throw it down, who were never deserving of your heart. I want to speak to them and let them know, hey, there's value in you. You are a queen. Fix your crown, hold your head up, move forward because baby, you got this. You got this. If it was given to you, you can handle it. I was able to actually speak to someone on at staff at work today, and I was actually just speaking to her because she was having a hard time, and I'm like, don't ever underestimate your cross. Just because your cross might not look like mine, it's still just as big and just as important. But let's carry it together. Mm.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's for a lady who is having challenges with her self worth, her self esteem, and how to overcome those challenges. What would you say was the turning point for you? I read, I haven't gotten through the whole book, but I read uh, the first part of your life, and it looks like you was kind of in this circle, and you felt,
Mm.
you know, you didn't value yourself the way you value yourself today, and you had self esteem challenges. What was the turning point for you?
The turning point was I couldn't do it any longer. I was with someone who didn't deserve me in the beginning, who had belittled me, demeaned me, did the same to my children, and it was a cycle. And when I saw not only what it was doing to me, but first and foremost, my children, because again, like I said, I love being a mother and being able to give life. That's a blessing and a gift from God. So I was not being a great steward over what He had blessed me with. And that steward was my children's lives and their souls. So I had to come to a realization like, listen, this is going to impact them. And if I don't get out of it, then, woe unto me what could possibly perhaps be in the realm for them moving forward. So it's like I had to do it. And then I was tired. That is the best way I can say. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I tell friends that now, or when I speak to ladies and when they're talking about some of their relationships, I'm like, you will change when you really get tired. I mean, because you can talk it, but until you are really ready to let it go, you're going to stay in it. But when you let it go, it is the best feeling ever. It is rewarding. You feel liberated. You're free. I literally, I know that I'm no longer in bondage. And it was because finally something, and I say that, that analogy, a light went off in my head, like, enough, enough. It's time for a change. And that's just what I did.
Okay, so when the lights come on, so you share your journey of self worth, self esteem, and the turnaround you took in your life. Now, how do people get this book? Is it available on Amazon? Is do they you got to pull up somewhere on a corner in your trunk and just
I can do that, but no,
take
it is on
bottles and
Amazon.
CBT cards?
It is on Amazon. And type in Deondra Parks when the lights came on. So it's available by Kindle, of course, paperback as well. I also come this week. I will be off of Illinois for the Juneteenth experience, so I'll be
Okay.
one of the vendors there presenting my book as well.
Now, what's the dates for that for the Juneteenth event?
That will actually be Saturday.
This
I believe
Saturday,
it's yes,
the 18th.
correct.
Okay,
Correct.
or the night. Yeah, 18th. Yes, yes. Okay, at
Right
the
off of
Avenue, the
7 Mile
Livernois
Livernois Avenue. Yes,
Avenue of
sir.
Fashion. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful. Now, if people want to work with you, your staffing company, or they want you talked about your book, but if they want to work with you regarding your staffing company, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
They can reach out to us. We're the RFC Group. And for people who don't know, RFC stands for Ready for Change. If you're ready to make a change in your life, if you're ready to make a shift in employment, if you're ready for all doors to be open, come reach out to RFC Group because we're here to assist. Telephone number to the office is 248-809-3189. We're located actually on LinkedIn. They can reach out there to the website, which is www.the again, which stands for Ready for Change, grp.com. We're located in the city of Southfield, right at 12 Mile, 17376 West 12 Mile Road, Suite 202. They can email me at info at the RFC Group LLC 8-3.com. But we're on our social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook, Twitter. What are the other ones? You could tell I need to get really good at these social media platforms. And what is it? Instagram. So they can reach out to us at any of those.
Oh, okay. So the RFC group can be found on
Uh,
Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You said
Twitter
Twitter
as
and
well as,
Instagram.
yes, sir.
Okay. And for those who may watch this on the playback or see this on YouTube, we'll have some things on how to get in touch with um, Miss Parks and her company in the description below. So I'll make that available on the replay for the when the video is uploaded to YouTube. That's great.
Mm,
So I just want to thank you for sharing about how to start a staffing agency and just opening up about your book. I wish you continued success in
thank
your
you.
book. Hope your book has impact on women and for those who it's intended for. Uh,
Absolutely.
wish you continued success in your business. Any final announcements before we wrap things up for today?
Definitely reach out. We are actively seeking out employment, or I have employment opportunities. I'm looking for electrical engineers, maintenance technicians. I am looking for individuals, customer service, I'm actually looking for some nurses as well. So feel free to reach out to the RFC group. There's plenty of opportunity. Again, we make sure that our clients are not only getting you into these roles successfully, but we're also making sure that the wages are beyond accommodating. So we're here to work for the prospective talent as well as the company. So the RFC group, which means ready for change. And if you're ready for a change in your life and a shift, definitely reach out to the RFC group because we are here to help make things better.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up for our podcast for today. We want to thank again Deondra Parks for her
Thank you
time
for
and
having me.
sharing. Yes, yes. Thank you again. And that's going to wrap it up for tonight. So we'll see you next time.